Okay, if everybody's ready and staff is ready, we will call the meeting to order at 10:04. Roll call.
Commissioners Brown.
Present.
Harris.
Present.
Herr.
Present.
McCracken.
Present.
Harris.
Present.
Vice Chair Little.
Present.
Chairman Mercy.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner McCracken will lead us in our invocation.
Yes, please stand. And if you would bow your head, please. Dear Heavenly Father, we come before you with a humble and grateful heart. We ask you to lift up those in this room who are seated in places of authority and grant us the strength, wisdom, and protection so that we may be able to serve our community. In your glorious name we pray. Amen.
Okay. Remain standing, and I'd like to ask our birthday boy, Vice Chair Little, to lead us in the pledge.
Place your hand over your heart and repeat with me, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you, and we'll move to our presentation.
Good morning, Chair and Commission members. Glad to be here in front of you today. Wanted to take an opportunity to present to you our flock camera system. As you may be aware of, the city recently went into contract with the flock camera system. It's an automatic license plate reader camera system, and it provides crime-fighting technology under a service prescription or subscription. The company is unique in that it does this with on a prescription base, and you get everything you need for a flat annual fee. That includes cameras, software, maintenance, unlimited amount of users and licenses, and then a 30-day unlimited storage. And the system is also solar powered, so there is no need to connect to any energy source. So how it works basically, Katie, we can't get this one up either. All right, there we go. Great. So basically how it works is it's a you get proactive real-time alerts anytime that a wanted or stolen vehicle passes in front of one of these cameras. Our city is currently purchasing 50 of these cameras, or contracting for 50 of these cameras. So anytime a vehicle that is wanted or stolen passes in front of that camera, our law enforcement will get a notification that the camera is that the vehicle is in the city. So besides that instant notification, it's an incredible investigative tool, and in the fact that we can use the system, if there's a vehicle that we're looking for, we can use the system to see if that car has passed, not only in front of any of our cameras, but any of the thousands of cameras that are currently being used by several agencies here in California as well as nationwide. And it's also a great deterrent, and there's been evidence to show that when cities bring this system to service, there's been a reduction in crime, as well as they're noticing that some criminals are realizing, hey, those cameras are in that area, so I'm going to do business elsewhere. Excuse me. So what this system does is it gathers objective evidence. It basically gives you a vehicle fingerprint of the car. So what you're going to get is exactly what you see up there on the screen in that right top corner. You get a rear picture of the car and the license plate. You get where it was last seen and what time it was seen. You get the make. And you can also research the system and figure out how many times the car has been within an area or been seen by one of the cameras. What I really love about this camera system is it works with law enforcement to kind of stop the need for, or not the need, but stop the needless traffic stops that can occur. So if you have a crime occur in your area and you're able to use this system, you can narrow down the car you're looking for. And you can also narrow down the areas where that car was. So you don't have officers just spreading out throughout the city looking for the white Honda. You know, you've got them going to areas where this car was. And you can give them a better description of the vehicle they're looking for. The other good thing about it is it does not work on facial recognition. As you can see, the way the system's set up is they don't even want to capture the face of the individual that's driving the car. It's all about the vehicle.
Chief, is there a reason you don't want to capture facial recognition or use
Well-
facial recognition software?
Well, the way the system is set up is to focus on the vehicle. There are facial recognition systems out there, and those are quite often challenged and create concern with communities. So with this system, it's about strictly going for the vehicle. But those systems are out there. And most of your ALPR systems don't work with facial recognition, but many others will give you the front of the vehicle and a picture of the person if their face is within the camera. So, as I mentioned, it's not facial recognition. It's not tied to any personally identifiable information, and the system won't be used for traffic enforcement. It's strictly about capturing wanted vehicles. Basically, the way it works is DOJ provides Flock, every 2 hours they provide them with an updated list of vehicles that are wanted. That gives them the ability that when the cameras pick up a plate, if it is a wanted vehicle, they are immediately notified. The station is then notified. They don't even transfer the information or the information about the vehicle. They let the station know this white car or this white Honda Accord with license plate such and such just drove past JN Division. And they'll take that plate at the sheriff's station, enter it into the system, and then immediately know what the car is wanted for, what its complete description is. Then it's tossed out to the deputies so that they can go and look for it, and they're also advised where that car was seen. So we're narrowing down where we're sending our officers and trying to get them to pinpoint where a problem is.
Do you plan on using them for bench warrants and things like that?
I'm sorry, sir?
For bench warrants and things like that, or, you know, registered owners to that vehicle, do you plan on using them to track down any potential bench warrants?
No, sir, we wouldn't use it for that. We're going to use it for serious crimes. The investigative side of it will be used by the Sheriff's Department to locate or try to locate a crime vehicle, a serious crime vehicle. Bench warrants, the system will notify you if you have a vehicle that is associated to a high dollar warrant, but it's not going to notify you if you have a particular individual who was inside the car who has a bench warrant. It's strictly about the vehicle.
Along those lines, what agencies or individuals would have the ability to enter a license plate number for search?
Related to this system, sir?
Yeah.
So it's only going to be, we in the Sheriff's Department will control who has access to the system. So it's only going to be given to law enforcement.
Okay.
In fact, us at the city, except myself and the forthcoming hybrid officers, the actual police officers we're going to hire, will have access to it as police officers. We're not going to give access to any civilians other than the investigative folks who work for the sheriff's department.
Rod, Rod, on this program, Flock, are there other cities using Flock?
Yes.
So
in
would
fact-
would we coordinate with them too? So if this car gets out of this city and it gets logged in, would that other city pick this up?
Let me go to.
Sorry.
Oh, no, not a
We probably should have
problem.
waited for you to continue
Not-
this whole thing. I
not a
apologize, sir.
problem. Not a problem. In fact, I'm going to go to this slide right now. So this information was gathered from Flock. I got this probably in, I think it was November or so, maybe October. And these are the California cities or the Southern California cities who are currently using it. That has grown substantially. In fact, Flock has over 1,000 cities nationwide that are using this system. The real beauty of it is when our investigators enter a vehicle into the system to see if it's gone in front of any cameras, they get the national spread of cameras for Flock. So, and agencies definitely quite often will contact, like if once we have it up, and we'll be up in February, if we enter into the system about a car, whatever agency uses it will be able to see that, oh, that vehicle has been in Lancaster, so let's contact their investigators and see if we can figure out, you know, if they can help us find it, and also see if it's related to any crimes. In fact, I'll share a story with you. My last assignment as chief of Sierra Madre, we didn't have the system, but we did have a burglary issue, and we had a vehicle that we identified that had come and done a burglary, and we got that information within an hour. So we contacted Arcadia Police Department because it was last seen going in that direction. They had Flock, they entered it, they followed their cameras and were able to pinpoint a general area where the car was last seen. We were able to drive over and find it parked in a driveway and arrest those folks.
Question, Chief. Is it going to replace the current system we have?
No,
I know
sir.
We have a camera system, right?
No, sir, this is an addition. Part of our hybrid plan is we're looking at what other technologies. Technology is what really is helping law enforcement now, dealing with all the issues we have. So this is just one of the things that we plan on trying to bring to the city to improve our public safety. So this is an
So
addition.
this is an add-on.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's an addition to the current system we use.
Excuse me, did I understand you to say that the information will be retained for 30 days?
So yes, basically, you have a 30-day storage. On the 31st day, it is deleted and gone
Permanently?
permanently. Yes, sir. So the system does that itself. That the information is not shared with any third parties. You're not going to see it, there we go, you're not going to see it being shared with DMV or Carfax or anything. It is ours. It comes to us. So and like I said, the thing I like most about it is it takes human bias out of crime solving. So this is about technology finding a wanted vehicle and providing officers with the information of where that vehicle is. So there's no human bias, no judgment. We're acting on real-time, absolute information that tells us we have a wanted or crime vehicle in our area. Flock wanted to put up a couple success stories, and this is just one example, and it's actually out of state, where a child was abducted, and as you can see, within hours, they were able to locate that vehicle and get that child back. And this was a stranger abduction, so it wasn't a parental thing. So, that's just one example. Another one, additionally, in Northern California, I believe, where a jewelry store, there was an attempted robbery. The owner armed himself and got them to leave. They put the vehicle information in flock, and through the investigative side of it, they were able to locate that vehicle and determined that the vehicle was headed back to his location with weapons. So it's an incredible crime-fighting system. Sheriff stations that are currently deploying it, Pico Rivera, Walnut, Calabasas, San Dimas, La Cañada, Rosemead, and I just recently learned that Santa Clarita is now looking at getting the system. So there's been great success. I've talked to some of the chiefs that I worked with previously, and one in particular, Robert Lopez at Baldwin Park. They recently got the system, and he had shared with me that his city was surrounded by cities with the flock camera system. And what he noticed is that the dump stolens in his area and the stolens in his area were both going up. And in speaking with the other chiefs and looking at the cars they recovered, they realized that basically the criminals were going into Baldwin Park because they knew there were no cameras there. So this is going to be, it's going to assist us in great ways. Captain Leckervain is extremely excited about it, as are the deputies at the sheriff's station. So.
And what is the time frame for implementing it?
So they're going to start putting these in February. I spoke with our rep, and he told me that he thinks we'll be up and running and fully functional by the end of February. Once we do that, we're working with the sheriff's department to get it'll probably be bi-monthly or maybe every 3 months. We're going to get a report on how the system is doing, what the successes are, and how we're doing with recoveries of stolen, identifying crime vehicles. So, and we'll bring that report to you as well, so you know how it's working.
Does the system work with Caltrans to include the highways?
Caltrans would have to purchase the cameras. I don't think they have. It's separate contracts. The other thing about this contract too is it's it's basically a guarantee, that you'll be satisfied with the product. We entered into a 1-year contract, but if at any point during that contract we decide we don't want the cameras, it's a simple phone call. They will come and take them, not hold us to the contract. They are going to charge a small fee to remove each camera, but it is done. So, and that's due to the success that they're having.
And I'm assuming this would also cover hit-and-run traffic collisions and things of that matter.
If a vehicle is entered into the system as wanted, yes, it will. If they have a hit and run and that agency puts that car, and that can be any agency that enters into the system, that they have a wanted vehicle, if it comes in our area and we pick up that license plate, we're going to be notified that car is here.
When that car is entered into the system, right, how long to get it out of the system?
How long to get it out of the system?
Yeah, so for instance, if it's reported stolen and then it's recovered, is that 30-day period, or is it?
Well, that's on the agency that recovers it, and that can be any agency. And basically, the way it usually works is, and Greg can second this, and maybe even CHP, they recover a car. Their officers are to notify the station immediately that it's been recovered, and at that time, their civilian staff go in, enter it into the stolen vehicle system, SVS, right, guys? And then they pull it out immediately. It's a great question because there's been time.
I was thinking that if a car is stolen, it's put in the system, and that individual gets that car returned to them, and they're on the road, does it consider how they're not going to get that pulled up again as a stolen vehicle?
So, no. And it's a great question,
Yeah.
sir, because there's times in the field where the deputies or officers will find a car, get a call, hey, this
Right.
car is here, realize it's stolen, contact the owner who may be a block away, and that person will say, hey, I'm going to come get my car. They'll drive over and get the car. These guys will contact the station and say, take that out right now.
Got it.
as a matter of safety, they usually also tell the owner, hey, go home for a couple hours.
Right, yeah. that
And
makes
let's make
sense.
sure we don't have any accidents. So, but the removal of the car from the system happens at the law enforcement level, and they try and do that as soon as they recover.
So I find this so fascinating. I love these new technologies. What I'm imagining is that this system captures thousands and thousands of license plates during the day, ignores all of them unless they're flagged in the system. Now, I think I know the answer to this, but it says vehicle identification. Is it possible that the machine can tell that the license plate doesn't belong on the vehicle? In other words, somebody's changed the plates, or is it pretty much stuck to the license plate?
So the system, the flock system, just records the image of the vehicle, and then it works on the list it's given by DOJ of wanted vehicles. So it probably will not, that's a great question, it probably will not identify what we call a code-plated car that doesn't have the correct license plate on it. But if that license plate is reported as stolen, then they'll get a notification that, okay, that plate has been reported as stolen. Because there are times when a license plate is stolen and put on the wrong car, and then later on, once the owner knows their plate is gone, it's entered. And it does,
Chief, I thought I saw on the slide that had the picture of the license plate from the back of the car. I thought it said it also reported the make, model, color.
Right, it did.
So if they switched it to something that didn't match.
Right there, you're right.
yeah, but
Yeah,
yeah, it does. That's what you're going to get. And you're going to get that from the photo. But the system is basically taking a photograph of the car, so you understand. So what you're going to get is, I think that's a Toyota. So that's what you're going to get. You're going to get a picture of that car. Now, it's not going to notify anybody of anything if it's not wanted, but it's going to capture that picture and hold on to it. So then investigators who say, hey, I had a Toyota gray in color, and it can even be a partial license plate. It can be the last three that are there. They can enter that in the system. The other thing does is it even narrows down things like roof racks. You can say, hey, I'm looking for a white, somebody robbed a Walmart and they were in a white Ford Bronco and it had a roof rack and a partial plate of 123. They can enter that in there. This system's going to narrow down vehicles that fit that brief description they've given and shown what camera they were at, when they went by. So it
if
has
Santa
that.
Clarita entered that in and it got flagged up here, but as to Commissioner Brown's point, it was swapped on license plates. I mean, the responding officers here are gonna see that the license plate matches, but the car doesn't, so,
They're gonna see that picture that says it's a Ford truck instead of that Toyota.
Yeah,
yeah.
they're gonna see the picture.
Of a Ford truck with that plate on it.
Of a Ford truck with that plate on it. So in other words, we're talking about the investigative side of it. So, because as I mentioned, it has to be entered in there as something that were stolen. But the other side of that is investigators who are looking for, say, a shooting vehicle, and they only have a brief description, a red Prius with a football sticker on the back. They can actually enter that in, and then the system's going to show them everywhere that a red Prius with a sticker in the window that the car went by. Yes, but changed license plates, unless it's actually reported stolen, the system's not going to judge whether or not, because it doesn't actually run the car. What it does is it works off that list given to us by DOJ every 2 hours, and that's simply a list of wanted vehicles.
So, Mr. Mercy asked a question, and I either didn't understand the answer or didn't hear the answer, but what's the barrier of entry? Who gets to call up and say, I want this license plate in the system? Who has the authority to do that, enter a license plate?
So stolen vehicles or wanted vehicles are entered by law enforcement, and that's nationally. So let's say that Beverly Hills Police Department knows that they have a stolen, truck with this description and this license plate. So they're going to enter all that into the stolen vehicle system. Department of Justice, in working with Flock, gives them an update of wanted vehicles every 2 hours. So any police agency that verifies a crime has happened can enter that vehicle in as a wanted vehicle. And those are done by the individual agencies.
So police agencies.
So police agencies.
Basically. So it's interesting because your Baldwin Park example suggests that as this technology gets introduced, more and more people will want to join the technology. As the web gets tighter and more filled out, it will become more and more effective. So I suspect that we're kind of at the beginning of what may prove to be a very useful technology.
Yes, sir, and that's what we're seeing, and especially with Flock, because they have this subscription-based model. You know, the ALPR has been around for years. In fact, when I was working Century Sheriff Station, they were one of the first stations to get it. It was ridiculously expensive, the cost of it, because you had to purchase all of this. But this subscription-based system has made it affordable for a lot of other cities and agencies, and many are getting it and seeing great success. So, yes.
If so a license plate that's not in the system cannot be found retroactively. Is that correct? So if somebody puts it in, it can't say, well, oh, yesterday it popped up over here, because it doesn't record that. It only records the data if it's in the system.
No. So the camera, the Flock camera system is going to take a picture of every car. And so, you know, the cameras are set up. We work with the Sheriff's Department, and we identify where are the best places, where are we having a lot of issues within our city or commonly used throughways. So the camera picks up 2 lanes of traffic, pretty much, sometimes 2.5. So it's going to take a picture of every car that goes by that. And that's basically what it's going to do. When it snaps that picture, if it's a car that's already been entered as wanted or stolen by law enforcement, the system recognizes that and notifies law enforcement. Other than that, it's just taking pictures and holding on to them for 30 days. So if a car drives by today and the camera takes a picture of it, but the rightful owner's in it, or no crime has been committed, it's just going to get that picture. Tomorrow, if it's entered, if it drives by it again, they'll get notified. But other than that, law enforcement can say, hey, you know what, this car, we just got told that they did a robbery in it. Let me go to the Flock system and see if it's passed any cameras. They're going to be notified, hey, that car was here, 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 and here.
Okay, so everywhere within the past even 30 days.
And within the 30 days, and that's all the cameras that are throughout this state, you know.
Okay. So I guess the only question I have, because we talked about this prior to your joining the city with with another camera system, is just making sure that from a Public Records Act request, that's a bad actor can't come in and say, hey, I want to know everywhere my ex-wife's car has been and misuse the system that way.
No, sir, cannot. It
Okay,
cannot be,
good.
cannot be gathered. Yes,
That's
sir.
good. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, well, thank you very much. We're excited about this, and as I said, we're going to put together a report and make sure we're advising you of what the successes are with this system.
We'll look forward to it. Thank you very much.
Thank
This
you.
is a Great
Thank you, Rod.
advancement. Okay, next up, we have our consent calendar, approval of minutes from December 14th. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Harris, second by Vice Chair Little. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, vote with your button. Oh, we're, oh, okay, we'll do a roll call vote for that. Thank you.
Commission members Brown?
Yes.
Harris?
Yes.
Kerr?
Yes.
McCracken?
Yes.
Harris?
Abstain.
Vice Chair Little?
Yes.
Chairman Mercy?
Yes.
And it passes unanimously with 1 abstention.
I wasn't there. I don't think I can vote for it.
Yeah, so you're good.
Okay, thank you. And next up, we have the report from the Lancaster Sheriff's Department.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Deputy Lawrence Green. I am your Community Relations Deputy for Lancaster Sheriff Station. For those of you who do not know me, my primary role and responsibilities is to interact with the community in a more calmer setting, gather information from the community and present it to my station and vice versa. I go through multiple events, I attend city meetings, things of that nature, and I deal with the public directly. After this presentation, if you guys have any questions, you're more than welcome to come up to me, ask me anything you need, and I have my business cards available for you, should you need it. Today, we're going to be going over our Crime Commission report for the month of November. The reason why we go back 2 months, because the stats are actually hard stats, and they're more accurate. If I give you anything closer, the stats tend to change, and they're not as accurate as they should be. So the stats that I'll be giving you is for the month of November 2022. All of our crime prevention techniques are utilized through social media, Facebook Live, Zoom meetings, and town hall meetings. I gather this information and then I build a report based on it, and I use my crime analyst to further detail the amount of stats that we gather. If we go over to our burglaries for the month of November, our total of burglaries for the month of November consisted of 11. In October, they were 12 at that time. Residential burgs were at 9. In October, they're at 5. Commercial burgs were 2, and in the month of October, they were at 7. Our total robberies for the month of November were 23. They were consistent. In October, they were also 23. Armed were 12. Strong arm were 11. They are holding kind of steady in the month between November and October. Our community engagement for the month of November was very low because of everybody going on vacation, but we were able to get in a coffee with the commuter. Coffee with the commuter recognizes the people that wake up at the crack of dawn and actually commute to the valley. They don't really get much love and attention, so we decided to go out there at 3 a.m., provide them with coffee and pastries before they got onto the Metrolink to go start their day. At that time of night, there are crimes that do occur, and there are, thank God we have security on the Metrolink and things of that nature, but it's nice to be able to recognize, some of the people that are more like vampires and they sleep in the middle of, they don't wake up until nighttime, and then they go on with their lives. So that's what we were able to do for the month of November. As far as the burglaries and robberies for the month of November, do you have any questions regarding that? All right, we're going to move on to our comp stats. Our comp stats are provided over a period of a year. They give you an average of that particular crime and how it's holding up as we get closer to the end of the year. For the month of November 2022, this will be the comp stats for the city of Lancaster. Homicides over a period of a year are averaging around 2 in the month of November. Rapes over a period of a year are averaging around 7. I can't stress this enough, you guys. There's not a serial rapist or anything of that nature going around. Most rapes relate to a domestic situation where they know one another of some sort. If there was any type of serial rapist going around, you would be notified by Lancaster Sheriff Station. That being said, when you see this average, it is based off of pretty much I know her or she knows me type deal as far as that's concerned. Averaging around 7. Robberies over a period of a year actually are going down slightly. They're averaging around 28 for the period of a year as of November of 2022. Aggravated assaults have gone down over a period of a year, averaging 84. Domestic violence aggravated related assaults over a period of a year have also gone down for the month of November, averaging 11. Burglaries over a period of a year have gone up as you come to the end of the year. That tends to happen because of the Christmas type deal, gifts and things of that nature. Will slightly go up towards the end of the year, but however, once the holidays are over, will usually go down. Larceny and thefts, which is rare, have gone down by the end of the year. Usually larceny and thefts will go up because of the opportunity to steal, right? So they have actually gone down, which is actually a good thing. They're averaging 111 by the end of the year. Grand theft vehicle has gone down, but if you can see the skyrocket in September, it has gone up and then it has shot down. So obviously, this new program that the city is going to be implementing will make sure that average goes way down once it's implemented. Arsons over a period of a year have gone down, averaging 4. And these are your hot spots for the month of November. Hot spots change periodically depending on what our team decides to do and where we decide to hit. Obviously, once the bad guys shift from one area to another, your hot spots will change. Hot spots are usually held in business districts areas where larceny and theft is prevalent, snatch and grabs, things of that nature for Part 1 crimes. Do we have any questions as far as what I have gone over as far as the comp stats?
I have a quick question on, is there any areas here of special concern that might have spiked up all of a sudden that you're starting to see crime in that you haven't seen before?
No, it's usually steady. So you have your regular business districts on K and 10th, right? Then you have your Valley Central Way. Then you have around 20th and J. These are the common areas where your snatch and grab, larceny, thefts, things of that would happen. As far as more violent crimes, Division and J, the area in the dead center of the city is usually where you'll see common red spots over there because that's usually where it happens. Not anything out of the ordinary where it randomly popped up out of nowhere where we normally have no crime in this area and all of a sudden we have a huge spot. That tends to be rare because criminals are creatures of habit. They tend to flock in the same area and they have 1, 2, or 3 areas that they will rotate and hit. So if we pinpoint and hit one area to stop the crime there, they will have 2 other places that they will flock to. And then that's what creates your rotating hotspots, if that makes sense.
Thank you.
On the grand theft, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
Is some of that vehicle thefts, is that over catalytic converters too?
Grand Theft Auto, no, when they say Grand Theft Auto, it's the actual vehicle itself, not
Okay.
the parts from it.
So some of these cars aren't taken and taken someplace else and then being,
Yeah, so that'll be a 2-part crime, right?
Okay.
So your Grand Theft Auto will be the taking of the vehicle, and then your Grand Theft, depending on the value, would be stripping the vehicle and taking its parts.
Got it.
So you would have a 2-part crime.
okay.
So, just for clarification, so if somebody's in a parking lot and somebody comes, cuts their catalytic converter off, would that be under the larceny thefts?
Yeah, that would be granted Grand Theft because the catalytic converters are now over $900. Like it costs like $3,000 to repair. So that would be vandalism along with vehicle tampering, all of that. So it depends on what the situation is and how much the value of that part is on that vehicle. But it would not be Grand Theft vehicle because the vehicle is still there.
Thank you.
If it would be easy, I don't want to create work for you, but I appreciate that there's seasonal variation. What if we look back 5 years? How's crime doing in Lancaster, the Antelope Valley, over the past 5 years? Do we have a gradual increase, gradual decrease? And if the statistics were easily available, how about the past 10 years? Where's the valley going? What's happening in the valley in the big picture?
So you're going to see, if you did go back 5, 10 years, you're going to see an increase in crime, unfortunately. It's just the way things work. As population increases, you bring in more criminals. It's just the way we move. So as far as the percentage of increase over a period of 5 years, I can gather that for you. I can send it to Ms. Stenback, and so that way you have a 5-year, 10-year view of how the city's doing. The city is growing tremendously fast, and it's so fast that maybe the businesses can't keep up with the theft, things of that nature. That tends to happen with COVID hitting and the larceny never stopping. How is the business supposed to keep afloat? Yeah.
And you could have base per population, in other words, crimes per 100,000 or something like that to account for the population increase.
Absolutely, but you will see an increase in crime even as far back as 10 years. As the population increases, crime will increase.
And most of these, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. I just piggyback on what the Dr. Brown said, and if you're looking at the hotspots on the map, you know, we all know that it used to be targeted on the east side or the mid-city. Now it's all spread it out to the
Yes.
west side.
A lot of
you know?
people believe that crime happens on the east side. I don't know where that came from, but that's fictional. It doesn't work that way. It works on based off of what opportunities are available. There's not many business districts on the east side. Everything's held on the west side. The west side, technically, if you look in the eyes of population, is more populated on the west side. So there's more opportunity to steal things. There's more opportunity to take things. There's more value there. So believe it or not, our call service for volume is going to be higher on the west side than it is on the east side. But at the same time, when we get calls on the east side, they're serious crimes. They're not, hey, someone's walking down the street, I don't know who this is, he looks suspicious or she looks
We
suspicious.
totally understand it, but
Yeah.
I'm looking at the, you know, the hotspot, and you know what I'm talking about, and it used to be, and toward to the east side.
Yes.
Now, as you can see, it all spread it out, you know? So what makes it think it's happening?
Yeah, so if it's spread out evenly versus being hot in one area, it's usually coordinated if it's hot in one area. It's a group of people conducting a coordinated effort to create a crime. If it's spread out evenly, then these are random criminals doing things throughout the city, and there's no rhyme or rhythm to the crime. That's what I've seen in my experience is they hit a certain district, and then once they're done, or we catch them, then they will rotate to another area, and this is a group of people, which is why you see a huge fluctuation in patterns of crime going down each month and going up the next month. Because we stop that group, another group comes in and then takes over. So it'll go quiet for a month, and then it'll go busy a month in one area. When it's spread out, now that means technically you may have multiple criminals, one doing catalytic converter thefts, another group of maybe homeless or anything like that doing petty theft, a group of coordinated people doing grand theft out of clothing stores. It's random. They have no relation to each other, so it'll be spread out evenly throughout the city.
Question.
Go ahead, Howard.
Question regarding all of these crimes, what percentage of these arrests are basically catch and release? In other words, these criminals that are being caught, what's the percentages that are just automatically released?
That would be something actually from the DA's office that can answer that question, because once I make the arrest, what happens as far as the judgment and whether they get released from there, I have no idea.
I mean, I'm looking at all these stats month after month, and they look great. I'm just asking myself, how many of these people are still in jail?
Yeah, we can bring them, but I don't have the ability to tell you whether I can hold them. So,
That's one of the problems Mr. Sherwood has all the time.
All the time.
All the time. You know, what can he
Yes.
do, what can he do, and it seems, what can't he do all the time? Because it's tough on him and his department and everything else that's going on in the state of California.
we are told at Lancaster Station, regardless of the new laws that take effect, we will still do our job. We will still bring the bad guy to jail. But what happens after that, we have no control over. But we are still going to do our job.
Second question, shopping center over on 15th Street West, where Mervin's used to be, which is now High Desert Medical Group. Managed that shopping center, and as recently as yesterday, I was called out, and there's a homeless encampment down in the embankment, but probably 2/3 of the chain link fence had been cut, and it actually tapped into the parking lamp in the structure, and there was, a lamp hooked up. I mean, it tapped into electricity,
Yeah.
and they had a lamp set up, and they had a power cord coming out with a strip. Obviously it's illegal. Is that something that you guys would actually go out and try to get someone for? How do you handle something
That's a
like
tricky situation. It's a lamp plugged into a light post.
A lamp plugged into a extension cord that has been tapped into the power at the light post?
Yes. So that being said, who owns the lamp? Is there anybody near the lamp? There's transients throughout the wash. Who's going to claim that? They know it's a crime. No one's going to tell on themselves. So the question is we have to have, hard evidence that, hey, listen, he's the guy or girl that actually tapped into the pole. They all share property. So if they're using it for lighting, one will tap into it. You'll probably never see that one that did it. And then 5 others will be using the lighting to, survive for the night or whatever the situation may be. My opinion, I don't know how they got into that light, but as far as the plate that covers it, might be a city issue to maybe find a way to stop it from anyone accessing it or bring it up higher where you would need some type of commercial ladder to get to it. I don't know how you would fix that issue, but as far as law enforcement's view, we can't just assume because there's homeless in the wash, you are the one who tapped into the light. I have to get a correlation to who logged into that light.
Something similar to that, Howard, another center client of mine also had the same thing where they were breaking into the electrical room. And when they broke into the electrical room, they changed the locks. So the owner of the center couldn't get in, and no reason to get into the electrical room unless they had a problem. And they had television sets, air conditioning units, beds, all the comforts of home, heaters and everything else. Once they found it, they removed them. 2 weeks later, the locks are changed again, and people are in there doing the same thing all over again. So
And in that circumstance, we have someone to actually address because they're in that room, whereas that's outside and there's no one by the lamp. Does that make sense? So now we have someone to go after if they're in a room. You're here with all this modified stuff. Now I have enough reasonable suspicion to believe that you are the one to change
They
it.
would come, leave, come. They were pretty savvy on what they were doing. Thanks to Andrew and his team, which is unbelievable what they do. A lot of that stuff's taken care of, but it's like every time you turn around, 30 days later, they're coming back and doing it again. It's just
It's a habitual
revolving door.
thing. I have been putting out PSAs regarding what is it? For trespassing. What is the, I'm losing my train of thought. That they deliver to the watch deputy and you have their ID to say if you ever come onto the property, you'll be arrested on site. Letter of agency. Thank you. I have been putting out PSAs for letter of agency. A lot of businesses don't understand that once you have a letter of agency on file, it gives law enforcement the ability to make the arrest on site without the actual owner being there. These are very important tools that we need in order to do our job. So when you give me this scenario with these people that keep habitually going in, instead of us having to find out if they are allowed to be there, which we know they're not, but we still have to ask, we can make the arrest on site as long as the letter of agency is on file. That means I have the permission to make the arrest without doing a full investigation on why they're there. No one's supposed to be here at this time and this time, and now I just walked up because an alarm went off and this person's here. So I can make the arrest without even having to notify the...
Do you have businesses that don't want to do that?
Well, that's a problem. A letter of agency is very difficult to get because you have to have an habitual situation. So it has to be documented. When we call in, when the business calls in for a call for service, it's documented. It stays in the system for 7 years. However, over this period of 7 years, if you have multiple trespassing calls over 30 days, this letter of agency will work perfect for you because it's a habitual situation, meaning that we're done, we're wasting resources by letting this guy go because I can't get a hold of the owner because he or she has multiple businesses and they don't have time to answer the phone. If they send in the letter of agency, I don't have to go hunt them down. They've already said that, hey, listen, if you see this person, they don't belong here, they're not an employee, arrest on site, I have the ability to do that. And that's only because they submitted that letter of agency.
That's good to know. I didn't know that you could do that for commercial. I do it on my vacant residence properties, but I didn't do it on the commercial.
Yeah.
So you can actually specify the hours on the letter of agency?
I have to look at the new application. There's revisions that keep getting created, but I have to see what's there. I don't know if you can specify time, but I do know that trespassing is a major issue for commercial businesses as
Right,
well.
and
Yeah.
time would be the key component because of the fact that I would want it to be hypothetically from 8 p.m. to 10 a.m.
Yeah, like your hours, you can even say your hours of operation. Hey, the business is closed. No one's supposed to be there. But you must take this into consideration. If you send an employee To go access something in your place of business and you have your letter of agency on file and they set off the alarm and we go, we're not going to call you. We're going to arrest your employee. So you got to be careful how you decide that you want to go forth. That's why a lot of businesses tend to stray away from it, because there's circumstances that are unknown where you have to set an employee to your business to get inside, do whatever the situation is. And when I go to respond to the call for service and they say, hey, by the way, there's a letter of agency on file, your employee is probably going to be pretty mad at me because he or she is in cuffs.
Well, I'm concerned with the situation of where the perimeters of a shopping center, to where it's after hours and it's a homeless person or whatever walking around a shopping center trying to either do damage, break in, or whatever. Can that letter of agency be used for?
No.
Okay.
The outside perimeter of a business is public. So,
Okay, that's what I was
yeah,
thinking.
that would not take effect. This only has to do with inside of an actual structure.
Have we done a PSA with the Chamber of Commerce regarding letters of agency?
Yes, actually, I go to Business for Breakfast like every month, and I do reiterate over and over again about I even brought letter of agency paperwork to the chamber. I also sent out links on how to get to it digitally as well. Yes.
Is there a way to do this electronically, or do I have to go into the station every time for a letter of agency?
There is an electronic application, and you make a copy of your California ID, and then you will fax it over to the station.
This is I'm obviously rather new to all of this. I see that there's a legend over here on this sheet.
Yes.
Can you explain to me the parameters of the legend and what makes you decide if it's yellow, orange, and red?
So there is an average, I don't have the exact number as far as average of very high, high, moderate, and low, right? There's a category, whether it be 100, 200, 300, in that area, which will make it dark red, or 10, 20, 30, 40, which will make it yellow as considered low. The crime analyst creates this for me. They have a certain pattern that they follow. What constitutes as high as far as an actual number, I couldn't tell you. I would have to talk to my crime analyst to find out what's considered a high number and what's considered a low number. Is it 4 digits? Is it 3 digits? Is it in the hundreds? Is it in the thousands? I couldn't tell you that at this point. I just know that it's heavy and it's very active there in that area.
Okay, so the legend is based on number of crimes occurring, not severity of crimes occurring.
No, numbers of crimes. This is quantity, not type.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I just want to bring something up for more awareness. Not too long ago, I had a property owner contact me of a currently vacant commercial property. I would say Mr. Noga was very helpful in getting the owner some advice. They were having a problem with a habitual break-in. And one of the things that he let me know was that just the mere presence of security cameras was serving as an effective deterrent, because they could get arrested more quickly, and then they would look for somewhere else with least resistance. So that's something that's a tool, although unfortunately there's a cost to that to the property owner, that can help deter that activity.
If anybody has any questions as far as that's concerned, I mean, that's what I'm here for. It's part of my job. I can advise them, that, hey, you need cameras. You need this, you need this. This is how you prevent. It's called proactive policing. We do proactive community policing at Lancaster Station on a regular basis. I teach the community how to be proactive with their business and how to prevent and just not make yourself a red flag for theft. That's what I'm here for. This is what I get paid to do. So if you guys do have any questions, please come to me. We hold regular meetings, neighborhood watches, things of that nature to address those type of situations. Cameras are amazing, even for our detectives. They make the job easier, and there's no question, because cameras show everything. Highly suggested, absolutely, are suggested for businesses and for residential.
This may not be a question for you, maybe for the commissioner, or maybe for Mr. Cottle. Have we looked into potentially subsidizing businesses for the proactive security measures?
good point. I think too, and correct me if I'm wrong, Rod, when you go out to some of these operations, some of the recommendations you make to some of these centers that are in violation or whatever, are putting up cameras. Am I correct in thinking that?
That's correct, sir. And in fact, I'll just take the opportunity to pass on that. Part of our hybrid program is we're actually sending individuals to, it's called Crime Prevention Through Environmental Design. It's a training. And in fact, I think maybe a couple of the gentlemen in the back are going. But we're sending several folks to that in March, and they're going to be taught exactly what Mr. Green is talking about. So we're going to have a city entity as well that can go into businesses or residents and say, these are some of the things that you can do to harden the target, for lack of a better term, make your home or your business less appealing to crime. So, but we currently do that now. We're going to do it even more once we get this training done.
So is this training going to take place here at City Hall, or are they leaving the area to do it?
Well, we're sending our folks to an agency that does the training, and then they'll come back, train the trainer with some of our folks, but it's a service we're going to offer throughout the city.
So kind of piggybacking on what some of the concerns that Rucker was bringing up in some of these hot spots, does the city have the authority to sit there and say, bringing individuals in that have continual problems at a site, to sit there and say, we need you to do certain things to combat that, or do we have that authority to do so? For instance, you need to put cameras up. You need to do this. You need to keep trash, whatever it may be. Can the city put those requirements on a business?
We have the authority through our code enforcement to put certain requirements, ensure they're meeting the laws that currently exist and the municipal codes that currently exist. Other than that, we do go in and try to work with them, and then when we find that we have folks who are just basically violating the laws and just not going to meet the standards that are set, along with our sheriff's department, we'll go in and start to enforce everything we can and hopefully gain compliance. But when we don't, as with the example we showed you at the last meeting,
Yes, sir.
with that location,
Yes, sir.
we're going to take other efforts because we're not going to allow it to be in our city.
It's my understanding that in the wake of woke, a lot of the big retailers pulled back from prosecuting shoplifting. Has there been any sense that the pendulum is swinging the other way on that?
Well, as I said before, shoplifters will get arrested. They will be arrested by Lancaster Sheriff Station. What happens after that, I have no control over. So I will not just watch someone walk out of a door with merchandise in their hand. They will be arrested. However, how long they stay in that jail, we cannot determine that.
Well, I think the question is also whether the whether the retail store is going to notify you that this is happening. In other words, are they turning a blind eye to people walking out of the store with merchandise folded over their arms?
That's more of a insurance situation, policy, procedure, trying to prevent themselves from getting sued, because that's what they're scared of. If they knew they weren't going to get sued or get penalized, I'm pretty sure that loss prevention would be a little bit more hands-on. But right now, it's not worth the risk when it's so hard to keep a business up and running to begin with.
I think Commissioner Parrish brought up a good point, and it's something I know the city's been very proactive, but efforts to look for potential grant funding to assist these property owners, especially maybe in some of these hot spots, to help fund that. You know, some of these property owners, I mean, you know, there's always a mix. You know, some may be absentee and not as interested. Others may just be flustered because damage being done to their property is costing them a lot. So it might be something to consider, looking at additional sources for grant funding. I know we're always happy to have our state and federal reps here because they have access and availability to some of the state departments that provide that kind of funding. Maybe see what's out there. So.
Thank you. Any more questions as far as the comp stats for the month of November? No? All right, we'll move on to our LEAPS program. And if you guys have any questions on on how crime, works as far as the definition of a crime, I have put them on this slide as well, so you can see what is needed in order to make the arrest. For the LEAPS program, for those of you who do not know what LEAPS is, in general, it is a manned airplane that flies over the city. Attached to that airplane is an extremely powerful camera that allows you to zoom in on the city. We use it kind of like our Aero unit, which is our helicopter that flies around and looks for potential crimes. Except it's so far up and it's so high, you don't really notice it. But the camera can zoom all the way down to see a vehicle or to see the clothing description of a suspect running. This has been implemented for a very long time, since I've been at Lancaster Station, which is almost 7 years ago. I will be going over the stats of this airplane and what it has contributed as far as working with Lancaster Station and helping to prevent crime. Normally, I would be reading word for word on the LEAPS progress report, but it takes too long. So what I'm going to be doing is the green squares on your right-hand side, I'm going to go over those green squares, and I'm going to explain to you what they have been doing as far as working with us here at Lancaster Station. The actual person that controls the camera is inside of Lancaster Station, and they're able to zoom in, zoom out, control where the camera goes. A text message is sent to the pilot to show what area of the city they need them to fly to. So that's just in a nutshell of how it works. Once they get to that area, the person inside Lancaster Station is listening to the radio, discovering the description of the suspect. They can hear everything right next to them as far as the radio going off. That means there's no lag in between finding out the description versus zooming in on where the suspect is running to. It's an excellent resource, and I am very, very, very grateful for it. For the month of November, LEAPS helped in 15 arrests, 31 traffic stops, 20 burglaries and robberies, assisted in 39 fights and assaults, 14 persons with a gun, and 35 other offenses in suspicious circumstances. If we go over to the next page, you're going to see a percentage overall of how LEAPS works as far as the month of November. So 36% of it involved people, 10% involved arrests and detentions, 13% involved property, 23% involved vehicles, and 18% involved observations. This could be anything from a fire to maybe a car that has been seen driving away from an area where they just committed a crime. We're able to utilize this just like our air unit and reduce the amount of what is it called? The police chases pursuits that we get involved in, because pursuits are highly dangerous. If I can watch from the air until this person decides to park the vehicle, we don't have to risk the deputies' lives in going in unnecessary pursuits. So it's just a huge, huge help to the station. Do we have any questions on the LEAPS program?
You said it's a manned plane?
It's manned, absolutely, yes.
Is it that? Is it that
It
plane?
is that plane, yes.
How high does it fly? What's its...
How high?
Normally 3,000 feet above the ground. We can go down 1,500 feet, but normally 3,000 feet above the ground.
It also says 365, 7 days a week. Is it 24 hours as well, or is there an hours of operation?
3 hours of operation.
The program is trying to get a better day-night camera, so we're trying to upgrade the camera. The camera is pretty old. How old is the...
Original equipment, 2011.
2011. So can you imagine what we have now versus before? Our day-night cameras will probably be as clear as what you see on Fox 11. So if we can get the funding for upgrade, the amount of hours up in the air in nighttime, which is where most of the crime occurs, would be tremendous. It would be an amazing help to this whole program.
What's the current status of getting, there's been talk about getting the equipment upgraded for some time. Where are we at with?
I don't know where the funding comes from, so I don't know. That would be something that my captain is working with, along with the city, along with, that's above my pay grade. I don't know.
I was anxious to tell.
Yep, so as I mentioned, part of our hybrid program is to upgrade many technologies. LEAPS is one that we are definitely looking at and considering. It's not something we can jump right into. It is a $500,000 cost for that camera, but it is something that we would like to see happen. So we're trying to look at funding resources I met with Archie, and we're actually looking for grants and considering other options because we want to wrap it into the total technology program for the city. So there's other technologies that we're looking at as well that we're going to bring to the hybrid program. But LEAPS is absolutely one of the ones that we're looking at and considering how we can make this happen.
Are we looking at potentially upgrading to a unmanned craft?
There's too many restrictions on flying drones over a city and also within the relative area of the different airports we have, not only Foxville, but also Plant 42.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions regarding the LEAPS program? Thank you for your time, and that is the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I understand some of our state legislative reps need to go to a different meeting, so if there's no objection, I'd like to take the agenda out of order to move that up to the next item. Okay. Okay. So hearing no objection, we'll go ahead. I don't see Congressman Garcia's office here, so we'll start with Senator Wilk's office. Mr. Cannon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before I get started, I want to say that Ms. Owens did reach out to me. She said if it was okay with you, that I could call her and put her phone up to the speaker. She's a little under the weather, but she can give a report that way. She just couldn't do the Zoom today. So it's up to you. I can do that after.
Oh, go right ahead.
Thanks. So I'll start with my report. The legislature reconvened on January 3rd for the 2023 legislative session. Senator Wilk was succeeded as Republican leader by Senator Jones on that same day. The last day for bills to be introduced is on February 17th. The senator is currently working on legislation to introduce, which will soon be finalized. This session, the senator will sit on 7 committees with 2 vice chairmanships. He'll sit on the Business Professions and Economic Development Committee, the Education Committee as vice chair, the Energy, Utilities, and Communications Committee, the Governmental Organization Committee, the Labor, Public Employment, and Retirement Committee as vice chair, the Judiciary Committee, and the Joint Legislative Audit Committee. The governor is unveiling his proposed budget for the 2023-2024 fiscal year this Tuesday, January 10th. The Senate Republican caucus submitted their priorities on Monday, January 9th, expressing caution as there is predicted to be a $24 billion budget deficit. Some major and urgent impact to our district. CAL FIRE is updating its fire hazard severity maps for the state responsible area, the SRA, using new modeling that is changing current zoning designations. These maps may affect the cost and availability of your insurance. So the deadline for public comment is rapidly approaching. That would be February 3rd. CAL FIRE is holding a public hearing for Los Angeles County this Saturday. At the hearing, any person may give comment, and if you need any more information about that, you can reach out to our office, and we have it. There are hundreds of noteworthy bills that were signed by the governor last fall. And again, if you have any questions, please reach out. If you have any legislative ideas, please reach out. And I appreciate one of your commissioners already done that. And so we are continue to be a resource. And you can move on. I'm just going to.
Great, thank you. Did you hear back from CDCR about participating in these meetings?
No, but I did spoke with our legislative director about that. And so once we have, it was a shuffle after December. So once they have something for me, I will have something for you.
Okay, thank you.
You're
welcome. Next up, I want to welcome Assemblymember Carrillo's office.
Thank you so much. So let me start by introducing myself because I'm new here. I'm Eric Olson. I'm District Director for the newly elected Assemblyman Juan Carrillo in the newly created 39th District. My report is not in depth as we are still waiting on committee assignments, and the Assembly member is excited to partner with both Senator Wilk's staff and Assembly Member Lackey's staff. We truly all get along, and we want to continue that theme of working together, and we want you to consider us as a resource for anything that you have or any concerns or questions. Feel free to reach out. That's it for me right now.
Great. Well, thank you very much for being here. We appreciate this commission meeting being a great forum for a two-way street between our leaders and the public and us. So thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Balch from Assemblymember Lackey's office.
Thank you so much. The Assembly member also is still waiting for all of his committee assignments, and so he will be reporting on that next month, as well as his bill package. He was pleased, though, in the governor's budget to see that the governor's budget sustained $564.4 million to bolster law enforcement efforts to address retail theft and other crimes. And so that was a positive outcome. AB 23 is also a bill that he is keeping his eye on as it seeks to reduce the threshold amount for petty theft and shoplifting from $950 to $400. This bill would have to be approved by the voters. Also, as we talked about catalytic converters, two bills that were signed into law, SB 1087, AB 1740, both designed to slow the rising rate of the catalytic converter thefts in California. The two laws define who can buy and sell catalytic converters, and then also the documentation that is required for that. So again, a positive step toward correcting some of the issues with that. And just a reminder that the Assemblyman is continuing his Everyday Hero program, and we are recognizing our first responders in January. So if you have a first responder that you would like to recommend for this honor, you will see me, and I've got the application forms.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just so I'm going to need to leave in a few minutes. I'll turn the meeting over to Vice Chairman Little when I do. But with that, we'll go to the California Highway Patrol.
Hello, I'm Lieutenant Joseph Saunders from the Antelope Valley area.
No, go ahead.
I'll be quick, but
I accidentally called it out of order, but we'll continue.
I know we're all sad to see Eric Bernier promote to chief and go to Sacramento, but we do have a new commander, Joe Zagorski, and he wanted me to apologize for him. He's actually moving from Orange County to Tehachapi today. So he'll be here next month, and he's really excited to meet all of you and develop a strong relationship with you. So I'm going to give some stats, or before I do that, I know Chips for Kids is a big deal for the CHP. We're able to raise, with the community's help, over 8,500 toys, and we're able to distribute them to about 39 churches and organizations and hospitals throughout Antelope Valley. So thank you for all your help with that. For December, we had a total of 148 traffic collisions. That was down from November. We had 9 that were major injury, 2 that were fatality, and 15 that involved a DUI arrest. We had a total of 70 DUI arrests for the month of December, which was up from November. And then lastly, we had 8 recoveries of stolen vehicles and one arrest with a stolen vehicle. So that's all I have.
Okay, thank you very much. So I jumped ahead accidentally, but we'll go back to LA County Probation.
Morning. I just wanted to begin by touching base on what the sheriffs were talking about. You know, a lot of times in this trespassing in commercial buildings, you know, we get a lot of intel when we meet with our people. Intel can be behaviors, what they look for, what they're doing, how they do it, why it makes sense to them, especially our transient and homeless population. A lot of times, and I think I may have mentioned this in the past, they look for commercial buildings, county buildings, state buildings, and everything else because they have free Wi-Fi. They will surround those areas because they get free Wi-Fi on their phones, because public offices offer it. The city offers it probably when you're here. And so if they're close enough to a building, so you're going to see them at the sheriff's station, the hospitals, the city buildings, the county buildings, because they have access for their phones and they can, you know, use them a little bit more diligently in working with that. But they also have things that's left behind. Food in the dumpsters, sometimes whole meals. People will just take them out in a bag if they have a potluck or at work or something like that, and the custodian will take them out and bag them all in the same thing. You know, they're going to get a lot of food and stuff. So these behaviors make sense to that population that they don't ring a bell to us. But for the most part, for most people that, if we want to refer to us as normal, it's their normal lifestyle. They are going to go to restaurants and linger on and stuff like that to find a way of survival in that case. But we get a lot of this intelligence information just by conversation with them. When we build trust, they'll tell us what they're looking for, what they're going to do. They'll go to something as simple as a location like a bar where they're smoking outside, and they'll pick up half cigarettes on the floor. That provides them their needs without having to spend any money that they may not have. It's just a weird way of thinking sometimes, but that, again, we get a lot of information about how they do things. There's a lot of places that give free stuff, and they figure it out, and they do their surveillance of other areas. So just to touch base and kind of elaborate on those things. So you are going to have them around commercial buildings. They are going to charge their phone. Go to 24-hour fitness. There's a few light poles that have power in that area of Avenue K, and you'll see liquor bottles around those poles. If you see liquor bottles and trash around those poles, you can look at most of those poles will have a power outage, a power outlet. So it makes sense to them, but not to the average person. So again, you can go to any place and you're going to find all these things that we just overlook, and that's their survival mode. So, so we get a lot of those conversations with us about things, especially drugs. You know, I talk to them all the time about how nobody ever buys marijuana. I have never met anybody in 35 years that's ever paid for it. They've got it from a friend. Where'd you get your weed at? I got it from a friend. You know, my buddy hooked me up. You know, my cousin gives it to me, whatever. But no one's ever paid for it, so I don't know how you can make money selling it. So, but that's just my curiosity on that topic. Currently, we have 13 deputies in my office at the AB 109 over on Division and K4. And I want to kind of share with you some things and how we do things. We evaluate every person that walks in our building, and we rate them high, medium, low. Their criminal behavior, education, are they employed, or they have stable living? All these things take into effect if they're high risk or not. The criminal history is always going to outweigh a lot of things. Do they have dependencies on alcohol or drugs? Obviously, we're going to see those people more. They're going to be required to come in 2 or 3 times a month instead of just once. Come on in and talk. So, one of the good things about AB 109, I know in general it's not looked upon because it's early release program and there's prisoners getting out early, stuff like that. But one of the things we do is we're a little bit more detailed. Every conversation we had is detailed. We push to get as much information about it. If you will, it's a shorter way allowable to let them get too far away from us while we have them under our supervision. So we do a lot of little things, a lot of resources, a lot of programs. If they need work, we'll try to find them work. If they need shoes for work, we'll buy them shoes for work. And not everybody agrees with that in society, but are we going to pay for them to be in prison for the rest of their life and spend thousands of dollars a year, or are we going to spend $120 for a pair of boots and put them to work? Those are our options. So sometimes we like to think that our tax dollars are being spent a little wiser. Doesn't always work, but there's always a chance. And trust me, I came from a generation where if you looked at me crooked, we just put you in cuffs, took you to jail. You know, we weren't going to have this little smirky faces and stuff. So, we've changed a lot. I think we're better because of it to some degree. Some of it's still a little crazy to me, the way we do things. So I'm glad that we're still making arrests during shoplifting stuff, because I think the whole world thinks that you can walk into Target, grab a TV, and walk out, and no one's going to say a word to you. And we're convinced of that. That's what the media tells us, at least. So we believe those type of things. We're supervising currently in the Antelope Valley about 410 current cases. We have 13 POs, roughly 32-to-1 ratio, which is still good. We're still able to have more personal interactions and things of that nature. Last month, we had 7 new clients or updated clients on the assessments. If we see things, we may refer them to mental health, even though they may not have mental health needs at the time when they were released from prison, and even if they have no history, something could happen to trigger that, and so we will refer them. So last month, we had 7. And the thing was that we also have immediate people on staff. So we have immediate people on staff to evaluate their drug usage. If they're testing and they test positive and they never had a testing order, we can immediately put that into action. We have somebody on site that works for Tarzana Treatment Center in our office that can help evaluate and get them out in a road to recovery immediately. So we do have some good resources that go. We have, we're looking for another mental health clinician or last one left, went on to bigger things during the COVID situation, and there's still, it is difficult to find someone to work in the Antelope Valley. You'll hear Kaiser talk about finding psychiatrists and things of that nature, you know, the hospitals. It's hard to find quality people to work up in this area because they tend to work down below more often than not, so it's hard to find those type of quality people. But we work on it all the time. Our mobile resource center is still going out. We're doing a lot better as we continue. We're out there for 3 to 4 hour periods, usually from like 9:30 to about 1:30. We're headed out the west side of Lancaster, and I'll leave Little Rock out of it since this is Lancaster here. We're seeing about 28 to 30 people a month now out there at the Mobile Resource Center. We're going to increase that probably if we get another one, if this area will demand it. We're hoping to include juvenile and formal cases that are out of the courthouse at the general population of probation. Right now, it's strictly AB 109. And for those who aren't familiar, it's real simple. It's a van about the size of an Amazon van that goes out. We have the ability to do interacting with them. We can do FaceTime with them. They can talk to their PO if they need to. They can sit there and use the computer and access something that if we can help them with, it's all on the spot. And we go to separate locations. One's in Little Rock, and then the other one's here in West Lancaster near the Valley Central area. So that way, if they're not able to get in, if they're homeless, transient, they can report there. We don't have to go looking all over the desert for them. We tried that initially, it didn't work. We were getting 2 or 3 people. Now we're getting 25 to 28. So that's good that the reporting keeps them in compliance. And again, if we see them, we talk to them, we have a chance of helping them. And then, of course, with that all in mind, maybe make the place a little safer place to live for all of us. And that's what we have. Any questions?
Any questions?
Thank you.
All right, guys, have a good day. Appreciate it.
I do apologize. I also need to leave, but I will see you guys soon.
Okay.
Thank you for your
so
time.
much. Thank you. We're going to switch it back to Sean, Congressman.
Yes, Vice.
Thurston.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I have Jackie Owens from Congressman Mike Garcia's office on the line. Ms. Owens, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Sean, and Happy New Year to Chairman and Commissioners. I apologize for not being there in person. I've just been plague. I'm fighting the plague. So, anyway, with that being said, I did not want to miss the opportunity to address you and give you a brief update on what's happening in our district. As you know, our new district is now the 27th district, 27th Congressional District, previously the 25th. It includes all of Lancaster, which is a change. So we now have the Lancaster area all the way up to the 5. The Congressman, our office has been moved. Our Palmdale office is now on Avenue M4 in Palmdale, and I will make sure everybody has that address. We are not officially up and running. Our technology is not set up. With all the moving of the freshman incoming House members, our internet and everything, we're waiting for IT to come on board. So apologize if you've tried to reach us and not been able to, but feel free to reach out to me on my cell phone, and that's 661-289-6108 if there's anything our office can assist you with. The Congressman is going to continue to serve on the House Appropriations Committee. That will include also subcommittees for Commerce, Justice, Science, as well as Subcommittee on Transportation, Housing, and Urban Development. He's also on the House Committee for Science, Space, and Technology. He is co-chair of the Mach 1 committee and also the co-chair of the China Task Force Committee. And he's very encouraged. We had a brief meeting with him earlier this week, and he's encouraged by the tone of what's happening on the House floor. Felt like it was being very productive early on. I know it took a hot minute to get there, but he was very encouraged about what he felt was the unity and being able to be very productive and getting things put out on the floor. He himself, as of yesterday, put forward 3 bills. First being the Inflation Prevention Act, And that tool is combat spending legislation until our inflation is below 4.5%. It's no longer the days, hopefully, of spend as you go, but really be responsible with the taxpayers' money. The second bill he put forward was the SALT Fairness Act, which requested that release the SALT deduction cap of $10,000. That's pretty significant for residents of California. $10,000 tax credit doesn't go a long way when you're living in a $300+ million or $100,000 house. So the third one who put forward yesterday was prioritizing troops over Tax Collectors Act. And as you may have been following, that the president put forward a bill for $80 billion to increase the IRS, and 71,000 of that, or about 16,000 of it, was to address the increased IRS agents. What he wants to do is address some of those funding towards our troops. Right now, our servicemen are making about $15,000 an hour, equates to about $31,000 a year. So he just wants to reallocate some of those funds for our troops, while still addressing the needs of the IRS without adding an IRS agent force, if that makes sense. Anyway, I will pause there. Again, I apologize for missing the meeting, but I did wanted to give this brief update. And again, I want to say thank you to Sean for accommodating me on this. Any questions from the commissioners?
Any question, commissioners? No? No? Jackie, thank you so much for being here. Sean, thank you, sir, always. So thank you. Feel better. Moving right along, Mr. Sherwood, District Attorney.
Yeah, good morning. So these are the felony filings for the city of Lancaster for the month of December compared to the annual monthly numbers. So for the month of December, we filed no arson cases. We only file one every 2 months, so that's in line with our yearly average. Auto burglaries, we filed 10. The yearly average is 12. Burglaries, commercial, residential, we filed 8. That's the yearly average. Criminal threats, we filed 2. Felonies, the yearly average is 4. Drug sales, we only filed 1. The yearly average is 4. Domestic violence, we filed 10. The yearly average is 8. Evadings, we filed 1. That's the yearly average. Felony assaults, we filed 10. The yearly average is 13. Felony DUIs, 0. We only average 1 per month. Grand theft or ID theft, we filed 8. The yearly average is 5. Illegal firearms, we filed 9 of those. The yearly average is 14. Murder or attempted murder, we filed 2. That's the yearly average. Robberies, we filed 5. Those are down from our yearly average of 8. Sex crimes involving adults and or children, we filed 4. The yearly average is 5. Vandalism, felony vandalism, we only filed 1. The yearly average is 4. That's all I've got for this month. So you guys have any questions?
Any questions, commissioners? Mr. Sherwood, thank you, sir. Rod, back to you, sir.
Thank you, sir. First, I just want to say, last month, I think it was, Bob, you took us to the drug court graduation. Myself and our city attorney attended their drug court graduation over at the courthouse. Fantastic, incredible program. And I was simply amazed. The stories that you hear about these people and how they succeed from this program are wonderful. In fact, they had some folks who had gone through the program who came back to support other friends who had dependencies, and it's just wonderful. And I had spoken with Jocelyn to see if possibly we might be able to get some of those individuals to come and share their stories with you, if that sounds appealing, so you can see the success of this program. So thank you for that, Bob, by the way. Really fast, just want to say we're moving forward with the hybrid program. We're creating job descriptions now. And I'm expecting to be hiring several positions or moving into the hiring phase of several positions really soon including the law enforcement specialists, which are the individuals that are going to go out and take crime reports and help the sheriff's department speed up response times and get to our citizens to when they need a report taken. So we're moving forward with that. Last night, the council approved the administrative site process or program. So we're going to begin the training phase now of all employees who are going to issue administrative sites. And that includes the changes in the fines and the appeals process. So we have quite a bit of training to go. We're hoping that by March 1, we'll be in full rollout. And that's what we're aiming for. And we'll keep you advised and let you know if it's going to be on time or not. And then the last thing I wanted to share was this Sunday is Justice Sunday. This is going to be my first time seeing this program, but I'm excited. It is an outstanding program. It's going to start with a street festival in honor of Dr. King, and that's going to be from 12 to 4. I understand that some council members are going to be in attendance, and I know there is a stage set up and a presentation that's going to take place. But the crux of the program is what they do with these high school students from all the area high schools. And they get students from all of the area high schools, as mentioned. And they basically try to teach them 5 very important tenets, and that's leadership, networking, public speaking, writing, and partnerships. And they do this through the use of theater. And these students actually they write, produce, and perform a historically accurate play. And this year the play is going to be about how music has contributed to American culture. So I'm excited to see that. I understand past years the play has been fantastic. All of you are invited. They are trying to give out tickets for it. So please reach out to myself or Katie if you'd like to attend. We'll have some special parking probably set up for you so we can get you in there without a problem. But this, when you think that these kids give up their entire winter break to prepare this play, that too in itself is wonderful. So if you do have time, please stop by and take a look at this. That's pretty much all I have.
Any questions? Thank you so much. Thank you so much. This moves us to public business from the floor. Kathleen?
This is a time to address the Lancaster Criminal Justice Commission on non-agendized matters. Speaker cards can be found on the back table of the council chambers. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each unless a different time limit is announced. State law prohibits the commission from taking action on items not listed on the agenda. Thank you.
We have a speaker card, Mr. David Paul.
Mr. Vice Chair and Commissioners, good morning. It's always interesting coming here, and I'm always heartened by the commitment of all our public servants that are trying to help. You know, I was thinking recently about one of my favorite quotes, Winston Churchill, "Democracy is the worst form of government except for all the other governments we've tried." And democracy is messy, and, you know, we'd like it to be neat. I would like it to be neat. I would like people to understand and respect each other and be open to other people's points of view. I mean, a lot of the problems we have with the homeless people, they don't have a home. So housing first, the difference between people in these rooms who have solid incomes and jobs and the homeless people is they don't have that. So if we could correct those things, we'd be in a much better position. But I want to see more people get involved in civics. That's what I think is the cure-all to our problems. Give them a stake in the game. Let them feel that they matter to the system and their participation counts. And I see a lot of that we do. You know, Dr. Brown, I've been really excited for a few months to get back up here to be able to tell you a story I read about Richard Nixon and his Attorney General John Mitchell, and they have declassified documents and audio recordings that Nixon made about discussing marijuana and making it a Schedule I drug. And they knew that it wasn't this horrible thing, but they did that anyway with what could be deduced as political motives for suppressing the leftist hippies and black people, people of color. So these are facts that we have to grapple with. And telling people the truth, you know, I've watched people years partying and they think that, oh, marijuana has been made this bad thing, and it's not as bad as they make it. So people think that, oh, well, I can try other drugs because they're probably not as bad too. But that's where the error is. They are that bad. And now we have fentanyl killing people who think they're getting some marijuana. So it's crazy, but I want to see us come together and give everyone a stake and understand and have compassion. And I see a lot of that here, and that makes me feel much, much better. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Lori Walker.
Hello, everyone in the audience. I'm Lori Walker. I'm a resident of Lancaster. I taught out here, too. I was at LACO Challenger when the detention center was here. And I was with the California Department of Veterans Affairs for about 8 years. I am also now your new NAACP president for the Antelope Valley chapter. I got about 2 minutes. I'll start with the flock program. It sounds nice, just as you said, Commissioner Brown. It's new technology is indeed fascinating. And I'm gonna tie this in with your LEAP program, you know, having, you know, law enforcement aerial platform system. It's nice, sounds nice, but at a criminal justice commission, there should be some mention on bias. The Antelope Valley has the highest racial disparities in all of California, and I don't hear enough from the commissioners about racial bias. I'm gonna just forget everything I wrote down and just tell you what happened to me this week. My car was hit while I was at the gym, and I was fortunate that there was a witness that came forward because the person who hit me drove off, and I had a license plate. I had the gym staff saying we can access the cameras, and I just went to the sheriff's department to file a report. What bothers me to my core is how often Black individuals in this city, Hispanic individuals in this city, cannot even file reports. The reports are not being taken. They are waiting upwards from 1 hour to 8 hours to file a report. So I'm looking, you know, I'm looking at a $500,000 cost for the LEAPs, and I'm pretty sure the flock program isn't too cheap either. And I go into the stations, and I'm seeing receipt machines broken. I'm seeing people turning in documentation, being refused receipts. So how can we improve on that? How can we have better and efficient engagement with the community? More than coffee. We need more than coffee with commuters. Have a nice day.
Thank you so much. Quick comment. Hybrid program will help enlighten certain things when this becomes launched and everything else as far as alleviating reports and comments and things? Won't this come more as an indication for the hybrid, we're going to take something like that on?
Absolutely. In fact, the 8 or the initial hires that I mentioned a moment ago are actually being hired to try and solve that or help with that problem of not having residents wait 8 hours or longer to have a report taken. Right. So it's one of the things that the mayor pointed out to me when I first got here and said, hey, I need you to do something about that. So that's why we're going there first. And then the other side of the hybrid program is, as mentioned when I presented, we're bringing in a social services piece so that we can look at the other side of issues in the city, including homeless, the other side of some things that drive people to crime. And we're also bringing in our own large community engagement piece so that we can hear the voices of the citizens and not just about crime, but also about things within the city that are problems for our residents, such as illegal dumping. We want to hear everything. We want to hear concerns they have with the sheriff's department, concerns they have with the city entities. So we're open.
Well, it's a good thing that you're a marathon runner. You know, for all the things you're doing, Ron. Thank you, sir.
Oh, you got it, sir.
Commissioner comments, anything? Well, then we'll stand